Welcome, welcome. You are tuned into the Mind of an Entrepreneur manifestation series on confused ideas and ignorance based on the book, The Master Key System. So we are going to give it a few minutes and wait for everybody to get in the room, and then we're going to get started. Get myself all queued up here. Just ready to go. There we go. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Alicia. Welcome, welcome. Just had to get my notes together here. Welcome, sis. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. How did you enjoy the class last week? Sister 19, wa alaikum salam. Welcome, welcome. We're going to start in about 2 minutes because we got a lot of information to cover. Let me put this on sound off because everybody will be calling me. She said she absolutely loved it. We watched it again. Oh, thank you. Praise be to Allah. That's good. The idea, what I love about this type of teaching and this type of work is that it just starts to shake things loose in you that you didn't know that you need shaking or loose. Antoine, welcome. Yeah, sometimes you don't even know that you need to be awakened or for things to, sometimes you don't even know you have blind spots. I guess that's what I'm thinking. So welcome everybody. We are going to give it one more minute and then we're going to dive right in. Whoever missed it, they got to go back and check out the replay like you all did. How many people benefited from the homework? How did it go for you? The homework was actually a meditation exercise. I love meditation. I feel like meditation is a game changer. I don't know about you all. For me, it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. So get your notebooks together. Get ready to take some notes. Let's get ready to tweak our minds. Love the background music. Oh, thank you, Sister Marva. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Yes, it's important to make meditation a daily practice. You know, what I do is I calibrate myself with my prayers, and then after prayer, I go right into a meditation. That way I'm kind of already at a high vibration, or at the vibration I want to be at, you know, in connection and in alignment. So that's kind of how I do it. But sometimes I just plop down and take a 5 or 10 minute meditation when I need it. Peace and blessings. Welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. Flow on in, flow on in. All right. The background music is kind of lulling me to sleep a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Peace and blessings, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Alita. All right. So with that, let's dive right in. Get your notebooks and let's go. Let's shake loose. Every time I go through this book, something in my life changes. Something major changes. Let me sit back so I can show off my Elijah coin pendant to y'all. Y'all see that? We're going to have these for sale next week. I'm so excited. This is the copper from the messenger's home. And so I'm just excited about that. But I'm excited about a lot of stuff. Anyway, let me get going here. Welcome again to the MOEToday manifestation series. And I call this chapter Confused Ideas and Ignorance, because that is really a big impediment to our success. So assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's based on the classic book written by Charles F. Hannal called The Master Key System. This series is an extension of my brand, as many of you know, The Mind of an Entrepreneur Today, or MOEToday for short. And I developed this series back in 2011, just 2 years after I started the Mind of an Entrepreneur show from my bedroom here in Chicago back in 2009 on Blog Talk Radio. And I went from that to a national radio show. And now we're working to launch into a television show. So I'm excited about this brand. I started it in honor of my father, who passed away in 2009. And it has done nothing but bless me. I can't say enough about it. So anyway, the Mind of an Entrepreneur brand of products and services, as some of you know, we explore mental strategies and offer free game on how to navigate the world of business. I offer a unique approach to business that combines traditional disciplines with consciousness. I'm an international businesswoman, an industry disruptor, global thought leader, philanthropist, and master business and real estate developer. And I'm striving to become a God and a powerful manifestor. So thank you for being here this evening. I'm excited to take you on this journey. Many of you expressed in the chat when we first came on that you enjoyed part one. And let us know in the chat. Say something if you enjoyed part one. If you went back and looked at it again, give us some feedback. My goal is to help marginalized people around the world gain access to tools and strategies that will help us to become stronger, healthier, happier, wealthier, and to experience more love. And I'm working to build a model using marginal strategies that will help us do for self and just make it infectious. So let me say this before we begin. You matter. I know sometimes things are scary and you just don't know what your next best move should be. You know, you need to do something. And I'm here to tell you that Allah has never forsaken you. And that if you ask him what your next best move should be, he will be happy to let you know. Don't ever, ever lose hope. Never lose hope. Just hang in there. As President Barack Obama says, have the audacity of hope. Many of you, you may be saying, how do I manifest my business when my business is not here yet? What I want you to do is stop focusing on it not being here yet. Because when you do that, your circumstances become a match with what you're focusing on. Or you say, how do I manifest the money? I'm worried. Well, stop worrying. Yep, I know it's easier said than done when the bill collectors and folks are asking you for money. Trust me, I know. that kind of can keep you in alignment with the vibration of it not being there, right? Because you might be on a high and then a bill collector calls you, or you get something in the mail, or you look somebody in the face that you know you owe money, and then that starts to then recalibrate you to the absence of the money that you want. Or you might be saying, how do I feel better? Or how do I fix my relationship, or get out of a bad relationship, or manifest a better one? Well, we have to become a vibrational match with what we want and not with what we don't want. And here's some techniques that may help you. When you're looking at working on your business and the business is not here yet, work on your business plan. Write it out. Put together a strategy. What is your business going to be like? Plan it, draw it out, get into what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel, what's your color scheme, what do you want your customers to feel like. Stop talking about it and put it together on paper. Get more into putting it together than talking about it. And this will match you up vibrationally with the business as opposed to being a match for it not being a reality yet. Because if you keep talking about it, then your subconscious mind will go, well, it ain't here yet. So you want to put it on paper because your mind's eye will just be focused on what you're creating on paper. You know, when we built the micro hospital in Maryland, I put it together way before we even started it. I drew it out. I wrote it out. I have notebooks filled with concepts and ideas. I carried those notebooks everywhere. I flew on the plane with them. I meditated on it. I talked to myself about it. I talked to Allah about it. I talked to whomever would listen about it. But most importantly, I laid it out on paper and I focused on that more than I focused on the naysayers. And every time I got off the phone with a naysayer, I went to my planning documents and visualized. So I recalibrated myself right back to what I wanted. And I made sure that I spent more time in a day focusing on the reality of my idea than I did on what was not yet a reality. That's very important. You have to take inventory of your day. Don't spend more time talking about what you don't want than you do talking about what it is that you do want. I don't spend a lot of time talking about my ideas as if they're not here. I think on them so much that I know what they feel like in my body. And then I have fun accessing those feelings. All right. So I generally start each session of the series off with a quote. Today's quote is from the Bible. It's Philippians 2:5. Let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. When I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan recite this verse in a lecture, he put emphasis on the word let, which led me to think about the choice of the word let, which means to not prevent or forbid. So type that in the chat. Let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. Okay. The emphasis on the word let. And let means to not prevent or forbid. To let means to not prevent or forbid. So in order to let something, that means that it is asking or trying, right? So if I let you in my house, for example, that means you're asking to be let into my house or that you're trying to get into my house. The Bible didn't say go and get the mind and use this mind that you find, nor did it use the word allow. It said, let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. Many of you have heard me talk in interviews about when I was blessed to acquire the former home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I thought that my job was to allow, because I know that I of myself am nothing. My thought was and is that this opportunity is one that Allah orchestrated. I then concluded that I have to allow that mind that orchestrated it to be in me and in every decision. But I realize now that allow, the word allow in this context is the incorrect word to describe the process, because to allow is ego-based. To allow is to give someone permission to do something, and to let is to not prevent or forbid. I'm going to say that again. To allow is to give someone permission to do something, and to let is to not prevent or forbid. This is a life lesson because Allah is you and you are Allah. Just let him in. He's everywhere. When I was taught to look for Allah in everything, that became the basis of my life and the basis of my success. Because when you look for him, he comes. He's right there. Don't practice behaviors and thoughts that block or prevent him. Let him in. See, because we have been mentally and systemically trained and taught to block Allah or God by a system that wants us to see our slave master or the colonizer as omnipotent. Then what we really have to do is practice the right way of thinking and conducting ourselves so that we can let. See, to let is different from to allow. Allow is not the right word. And that's what I learned. I was using the word allow, but allow is not the right word, nor is it the right orientation. So the idea is to let him in and not allow him in. Who are we to say allow? Who am I to say that I give Allah permission or allow him to come in me? He's always there. He could just go away and leave us alone. And since we act like we don't want to be bothered anyway. And since we think we make other things up as our gods, like money, our job, our love life, sex, our identity, our drugs, we make these things our God. And we don't want to let him in. But all Allah has to do is just leave us alone. And then we can see where that gets us. See how that works out for us. But because he is always there, we have to know that and move like that and let him in. Let this mind be in him as also is in Christ Jesus. So this world has no authority over us except that we comply with it because he's always there. And after we die in record numbers and give over our total minds and body, the devil will say, as in this verse in the Holy Quran, Surah 14, verse 22, and in part it says, and the devil will say, when the matter is decided, surely Allah promised you a promise of truth, and I promised you and then failed you. And I had no authority over you except that I called you and you obeyed me. So do not blame me, blame yourselves. I cannot come to help, nor can you come to my help. I deny your taking me as a partner with Allah before. Surely for the unjust is a painful chastisement. So think over that and think about the word let. Let this mind be in you as it is, and as is also in Christ Jesus. Y'all all right? Let me know in the chat. Y'all okay? So I titled this idea, Confused Ideas and Ignorance. Type that in the chat, Confused Ideas and Ignorance. The book begins, our difficulties are largely due to confused ideas and ignorance of our true interests. The great task is to discover the laws of nature to which we are to adjust ourselves. Okay? Now, before we get going, let's go over some definitions because these will be important, okay? The first one is confusion. What is confusion? Confusion is a lack of understanding, uncertainty, the state of being bewildered or unclear in one's mind about something. The next definition we want to go over is, what is uncertainty? It is a feeling or attitude that one does not know the truth, truthfulness or trustworthiness of someone or something. To be bewildered is to be perplexed and confused, very puzzled. And an idea is a thought or a suggestion as to a possible course of action. So confused ideas can be explained like this. Ideas as they are given to us by nature and thus by God are clear and distinct. Confused ideas are those that are distorted or mixed up, really meaning that they don't come from God or from nature and they don't align with nature. And what is ignorance? Ignorance is lack of information or knowledge. When we have confused ideas and we are ignorant, this causes a lot of stress. How many people will say that they're under a lot of stress? And how many people have ever been confused and stressed out about something? Let me know in the chat if you've ever been confused and stressed out. Some of us live under so much stress due to being ignorant and confused that we don't even know what it's like to live without stress. We live in a constant state of confusion because there are billions of dollars being spent in an attempt to control and manipulate our behavior and our minds every single minute of the day. History has been manipulated, especially our history. We can't discern truth from falsehood. We can't tell the difference between news and marketing. We have murdered. We have literally murdered the God within us. So we don't even have a gut anymore. We don't have gut feelings anymore. no intuition, no sense of right or wrong. This confusion puts us in a chronic state of fight or flight. Put that in the chat, fight or flight. And when I say a chronic state of fight or flight, think about in medicine, you can use the word chronic or acute. And to remember what they mean, the word chronic, think about chronological, meaning that it has gone on for a long time. A chronic state of fight or flight. That's what this confusion does. It keeps us in a chronic state of fight or flight. And let me tell you, fight or flight is designed to save us from danger. It's not a state that we should live in all the time. The fight or flight response is an automatic physiological reaction to an event that is perceived as stressful or frightening. The perception of threat activates the sympathetic nervous system and triggers an acute stress response that prepares the body to fight or flee. But if you are in a state of fight or flight every time you watch TV, go to the grocery store, talk to your wife, go to work, see your husband, what do you think is happening to your body? Many of you who listen to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, you've heard me explain this. You can listen to past episodes and hear about this in detail. But if you're in a state of fight or flight, you have certain physiological responses that you experience, like the blood in certain parts of your body rushing to your muscles and decreasing to certain organs. That blood nourishes those muscles and energizes those muscles so you can fight or flee, right? It's like your brain says, okay, kidney, we need to get out of here more than we need you to process urine right now. So let us take some of this blood we generally give to you and send it to these thigh muscles so we can get up out of here. But that's okay for a few minutes, but you can't live like that all the time. You'll weaken and damage your organs because you'll be constantly redirecting the blood from your organs to your muscle groups. And your organs will eventually become malnourished and fail. So mental clarity helps us to reset. It gives us relief from this stress. The relief of mental clarity is paramount to our health. And we talked last week about things we can do to get some relief from the confused ideas that we're bombarded with every day. And part one from last week is posted here on my YouTube page for those of you who are coming on for your first time today. All right, so let's get into these study questions. Everybody doing okay? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're doing all right. All right, so we're going to start with the study questions. Study question number 11, and they're numbered chronologically from each part, so that's why part 2 starts with study question number 11. All right, what are the 2 modes of mental activity? The author asked this question, what are the 2 modes of mental activity? And his answer is conscious and subconscious. All right, so let's break this down. What is a mode? M-O-D-E. A mode is a way or manner in which something occurs or is experienced, expressed, or done. Meaning you can experience something consciously or subconsciously. And mental activity or neurological stimulation can be described as anything that stimulates, activates, or enriches the mind. Stimulation can be provided internally from thought or externally from your environment. Okay? Now, let's go to number 12. Upon what do ease and perfection depend? That's the author's question. And the author answers, ease and perfection depend entirely upon the degree in which we cease to depend upon the conscious mind. I'm going to say that again because that's powerful. Ease and perfection depend entirely upon the degree in which we cease to depend upon the conscious mind. So let's think of it this way. How do we access ease and perfection? How do we become ease, easier and perfected in our inner body. How do we do that? How do we reach that state of peace, ease, and perfection? We have to stop depending upon the conscious mind. And you go, huh? Well, think about that. You have to go into a space where sometimes you have learned and prepared enough that you do it unconsciously or based upon your subconscious. In business, you've heard me refer to this as professional intuition. I've been in and around business so long that my professional intuition is very developed, like a seasoned actor or a singer. Think about driving. This is another good way to think about it. Do you think about how to drive, or do you just do it now? You've probably been driving so long that it's just second nature. You don't think like, okay, let me put the car in park. Let me turn on the windshield wipers. Let me turn the lights on. You don't think about that. You just go, I'm going to get in and I'm going to drive. And it comes from your subconscious mind. That's what I mean by when you move beyond your conscious mind, where you expand beyond your intellectual capacity, you can reach a point of ease and perfection. We learned last week that the subconscious mind is the God mind. And you've all heard me say that we have to set our goals high enough that we're forced to push beyond our intellectual capacity in order to meet the goal. That's where the magic happens. That's where you meet Allah. That's where you have to call on him and he comes to you and helps you get through, or helps you create something even more beautiful, because he gives you that ease and perfection so that you take it to a whole nother magical level. Part 2 of this book put me in the mind of self-improvement, the basis of community development study guide number 1. Y'all remember that? Mixed feelings and controversy? Type that in the chat. It's mixed feelings and controversy. How do we handle it, actually? And the study guides read like this. I'm going to read a little portion of that study guide because this is what kind of made me think about this. The first emotion we experience at birth is fear. The first emotion the prophet feels on being called is fear. But the prophet does not remain afraid very long. Allah gives him assurances that there is a power with him infinitely greater than the powers opposing him. He gives comfort and encouragement to the prophet when no one else can, strengthening his servant in the knowledge that there is no God but Allah. Because of his great love for his people, the prophet experiences grief, sometimes despair over their rejection of the message, for he knows that their destruction is inevitable unless they accept the truth. Allah relieves him of his pain and sorrow, brings him out of his depression. The prophet deals with opposition, rejection, by seeking refuge in his Lord, in Allah God. He is refreshed and rejuvenated by his communication with the God, and he stands firm, resolute in the face of opposition and rejection. It goes on to say that clearly the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was received with bitterness, hostility, and vehement opposition. The attitude of the opponents did affect people greatly. The minister says that he would always say, "Flee to Allah," and he practiced what he preached. He always sought refuge in Allah. He did not go to the bottle, to drugs, or to things of the world to escape his pain. He drew comfort from the only true source of comfort there is, Allah God. And Minister Farrakhan, who has been just heavy on my mind and my heart today, is dealing with the mixed controversy around him the same way the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did. He seeks refuge in Allah. How else could he withstand the pressure were there not an infinitely greater power with him than the powers that are against him? What a beautiful example he is. So when we are challenged in our businesses, going to our God mind is where we will find ease, comfort, and perfection. Let me share a quick story. In around 2005, this story is how quickly the God mind can come and rescue you from something that somebody may do to you that can send you spiraling. So around 2005, I think, I got my first office downtown in the West Loop here in Chicago. I was so excited and so proud of that office. I remember signing the lease sometime in the summer around 4 or 5 p.m. And then I immediately went home to get my computer and stuff so I could set up the office that night. That's how excited I was. I remember rushing home and looking for something to put everything in instead of like using boxes that I'd have to carry back and forth to my car. And I remember my mom had given me this red grocery cart, and I put everything in that cart. And when I got in the car, when I got back to the office with all my stuff in the cart, it was around like maybe 8:30ish. And as I walked up to the entrance to put my entry code in the box, this older white man walked out of the door. Now I'm so busy thanking Allah and being grateful for this nice office that I didn't really pay much attention to him. And he literally stood in front of the door after he walked out. So he walked out of the door, stopped right there in the entrance, and looked down at me because I was like on a lower step. And he blocked me from getting in the door with my cart. I had my computer and my books and my printer and my office supplies in it. He started asking me questions, something like what I was doing and where I was going and looking at my cart like I had done something wrong. So I decided subconsciously, something in my mind said, just keep walking. And literally, if he had not moved, I probably would have knocked him over. And I'll never forget that experience because his action loosened some insecurity in me. And if I didn't go to Allah, it could have made me spiral and feel insecure about being out on my own and doing for self. And because he loosened that insecurity, I was able to deal with it. And I remember seeking refuge in Allah once I got upstairs. And I'll never forget the ease and comfort that Allah gave me. I had to push past ignorance that was threatening to make me confused and cause me to spiral. That literally was the beginning of my independence. Anyway, here's number 13. What is the value of the subconscious? That's what the author asks. What is the value of the subconscious? And then he says, it is enormous. It guides us, warns us, it controls the vital processes, and is the seat of memory. Part 2 of this book, The Master Key System, says the subconscious soul, like a benevolent stranger, works and makes provisions for our benefit, pouring only the mature fruit into our lap. Thus, ultimate analysis of thought processes shows that the subconscious is the theater of the most important mental phenomena. The subconscious is the theater of the most important mental phenomena. That's incredible. It is through the subconscious that Shakespeare must have perceived, without effort, great truths which are hidden from the conscious mind of the student, that Phidias fashioned marble and bronze, that Raphael painted Madonnas, and Beethoven composed symphonies. And that's the end of what the author says. And then I'm saying they were in their conscious minds. They were not in their conscious minds when they did these things. They were in their subconscious mind. And you often see great artists and athletes go beyond their conscious mind and channel their divine nature during a performance or a big game. You can do the same thing in business. You know, I consider myself an artist and business is my canvas. I live for the extraordinary projects and opportunities where I can go beyond my intellectual capacity or my conscious mind. You know, if you watch the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan during the world premiere of his performance of the Beethoven Concerto, how many people saw that? You could clearly see that he was channeling beyond his conscious mind. He wasn't thinking of notes. The notes were flowing through him. He had practiced enough. He channeled through Beethoven straight through to the great author of perfection, which is Allah himself. You can hear it in the notes and see it in the energy as he performed. I was blessed to speak with him the day after the concert aired. And when he answered the phone, I said, "Assalamu alaikum, sir. Is this Louis van Beethoven?" And we both laughed. And then he went on to tell me that his wonderful research team learned that Ludwig, which is Beethoven's first name, actually means Louis Interesting, huh? So now here's number 14. The author asks, what are some of the functions of the conscious mind? Let me say that again. Number 14, the author asks, what are some of the functions of the conscious mind? Here's the answer. It has the faculty of discrimination. It has the power of reasoning. It is the seat of the will and may impress the subconscious. Now let's break that down. Let's start with it has the faculty of discrimination. Faculty in this sense means an inherent mental or physical power. And discrimination means the recognition and understanding of the difference between one thing and another. So, what is the function of the conscious mind? It is the power to recognize and understand the difference between one thing and another. So when you know the difference between things, you can understand the various forms of utility of those things. See, when you know the difference, you understand the utility. For example, that's the next step, understanding the utility after you recognize that there's differences. Let me say it that way. For example, if you have a drawer full of eating utensils, your conscious mind or your intellectual understanding will help you to know that this is a knife, this is a fork, and this is a spoon. And when you know those differences, you now can utilize them for what they're made for. You can utilize them accordingly. That is your conscious mind helping you know the utility of things. The next part of the question, or the next part of the answer to the question, it has the power of reasoning. I did a talk on the Mind of an Entrepreneur show about the power of reasoning, and I encourage you to go back and check it out. The link to those past radio shows are in the bios on all my social media pages. Reasoning is the process of thinking about something in a logical way in order to form a conclusion or judgment. But the author called it the power of reasoning. See, in physics, power is defined by the rate at which work is done. It is the work versus time ratio. And mathematically, it's computed using an equation, meaning power equals work divided by time. It is also the possession of control, authority, or influence over others. So when you put the two together, the power of reasoning is the control, authority, or influence over a subject matter so that you can think of it in a logical way in order to form a conclusion or judgment using the process of dividing your work or your effort into time intervals. This is how the conscious mind helps the subconscious mind to materialize what it receives from the universal mind. See, the goal is to take what's unseen in our mind and make it seen. How do we do that? How, people ask me all the time, like, how do you think of these things? And next thing you know, we've seen it. Well, these are some of the processes that I use. Now, there are many different ways to reason or think about something that we don't have time to go into here for the interest of time. But let me just say this. You got deductive reasoning. You have inductive reasoning. You have analogical reasoning, abductive reasoning, cause and effect reasoning, critical thinking, decompositional reasoning, which are all really forms of mathematics. What has happened now in the school system is that they stopped teaching the children a long time ago. So in terms of these different types of mathematics, people don't really learn them anymore. So we have to study them on our own. And I break some of these down in the radio show episodes. And we may come back and do some shows on each of these different ways of reasoning. Another function of the conscious mind is that it is the seat of the will and may impress the subconscious mind. Now, when you say that the conscious mind is the seat of the will, the seat of something is the place where something specified is prevalent. It's the center or a place from where authority is exercised. The will is often used to express the future. You may say, I will do this or that. It is also to express desire, choice, willingness, consent, or in negative constructions, refusal. Like, we will do our best, or no, we will not. So in this case, the conscious mind functions based upon the functionality of our will. It is the center of the will, the seat of the will. So the conscious mind's ability to discriminate, reason, and exercise the will can impress the subconscious mind. That's heavy, especially since we've learned that the subconscious mind is the God mind. Y'all all right? Let's just keep listening and absorbing. A lot of times this feels like a lot, but you'd be surprised at what your subconscious mind is picking up. Because what we want to do is just loosen up ways of thinking. So the idea is, if you read the chapter ahead of time, you listen to the audio version, which I try to do and post up here, and then come to class and then do the homework, and you'll start to see where your mind and body will start to align with the subconscious mind, and you'll be able to learn how to use your conscious mind, because this is all about learning how to impact the pliability of our minds. And what I mean is, we have to learn how to use our mind to get what it is that we want. It's not enough to just sit and listen and watch somebody else talk. It's not enough to sit and listen and watch TV. We have to learn how to hack our minds. It's like you can hack a computer. You got to hack your mind from the programming that has been placed inside of you for the last 400 and some odd years. All right. So Sister 19 said, we good. This is unlocking a lot for me. All praises due to Allah. Anyway, number 15, how has the distinction between the conscious and subconscious been expressed? That's what the author asked. He said, how has the distinction between the conscious and subconscious been expressed? The answer is, conscious mind is reasoning will. Subconscious mind is instinctive desire, the result of past reasoning will. Now, this fascinated me. You know what you will find with this type of wisdom, like I tell you, certain things will resonate with you and stick with you. Don't try to digest everything all at once. Let the things that your spirit is craving come to you. This answer, conscious mind is reasoning will, subconscious mind is instinctive desire, the result of past reasoning will, really resonated with me the first time I read it. And every time I read it and have read it since, it resonates with me. So see, subconscious mind is instinctive desire. I get that. And if you're in your right mind and right circumstances, your instincts can be quite divine. But subconscious mind being the result of past reasoning made me think. It got my attention. So remember that reasoning is the process of thinking about something in a logical way in order to form a conclusion or judgment. And the will is often used to express the future. It is also used to express desire, choice, willingness, consent. We went over that. So if today, for example, you think or focus on something that you desire or choose, then that can become, let me say it this way. You focus on something, okay? And let's say it's negative or positive, and you continue to focus on that, it then becomes baked in your subconscious. And how does it become baked in your subconscious? When you think about it scientifically, if your thoughts control everything in your body, whatever you're thinking about is impacting your cellular structure. And so you bake those thoughts into your subconscious mind or into your body because you alter your cellular structure with your thoughts. Then what happens is tomorrow you react and make choices and decisions based on how your body responds to what you thought about yesterday. This is heavy. See, so if someone is programming you and constantly devaluing you, for example, or ignoring you, or showing you negative images of yourself, and you consciously accept that this is how things are, this is who I am, you begin to identify with this abuse and this neglect and this lack of love, then your future circumstances are a product of that suffering. We all know people who are in jobs that they don't like or relationships that don't really serve them. And then they use deceptive intelligence to come up with a reason to stay, even though the circumstances don't serve them well. Yet they wonder why their ability to produce at a higher level is thwarted, or why they are always frustrated, wanting more, but never being able to achieve more. Or they feel like they deserve more, but they grow old and die, never experiencing life the way they desire it. Much of this is because once we have programmed our minds, or allowed our minds to be programmed to accept less, we live in circumstances that produce less. Let me say that again. Once we have programmed our minds, or allowed our minds to be programmed to accept less, we live in circumstances that produce less. Remember, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that thought is the power that changes physical reality. Type that in the chat. Thought is the power that changes physical reality. So if you are programming your mind to accept less than what you deserve, then your physical reality will be less than what you deserve. You will begin to self-identify with less than what you deserve. And you may even fight to protect your limited identity. This is heavy. Why will you fight? Why would you fight to protect a limited identity of yourself? Because you've been programmed to believe that that's who you are. So one of my goals is to never be satisfied with less than in my life, because I never want to self-identify with less than. See, if I self-identify with less than, then my life, lifestyle, and everything around me will be less than. It's powerful. All right, let's go to number 16. Number 16, the author asks, what method is necessary in order to impress the subconscious? And he answers, mentally state what is wanted. Very simple. So in order to impress or make a mark on our subconscious mind, we have to first be mindful of our mental state. Type in the chat, be mindful of my mental state. I think like this. If I set a goal, then I try to figure out what mental state I need to be in order to reach that goal. So I come up with the goal. I think about how I feel when I reach the goal. And I get real familiar with that feeling so that I can call it and change my emotional state. It's like an athlete before they get ready to go out on the field or on the court or do whatever they're doing, they put themselves in a mental state. Well, I'm doing the same thing, only in business and with my goals. And so I try to figure out how I will feel when I reach that goal. And then, no, let me say it this way. I don't try to figure that out. I know how I feel. So then I start chasing the feeling. So if I say, I want to make $1 million this year, or I want to get a new car, or I want to build a new business, or I want to sell 200 of whatever, then I think about how I'll feel when that's done. And I start chasing that feeling instead of the actual number. So I don't think about, okay, I got to sell 200 of these. I start chasing how I'll feel when that gets done. Okay. And then I try to figure out what mental state I need to be in now in order to accomplish what I'm trying to get accomplished. Okay. So the first thing you want to do when you have a goal, figure out how you'll feel. Think about how you'll feel when you reach that goal. How will you feel? How will you feel when you get your new husband? How will you feel when you correct your relationship? How will you feel when you open your new office? How will you feel when you become the manager on your job? How will you feel when you reach $2 million in sales in your business? How will you feel that when you make so much money that you can give $100,000 on your Savior's Day gift? How will you feel? And you take that feeling and you harness that feeling so that you can call it up whenever you need it. Whenever you feel some difficulty, you just think about all I can think about is how I'm going to feel. That's all you keep thinking about. And then you say, all right, so now what mental state do I need to go into? How should I be thinking? All right. There are 7 primary mental states, and we're going to run through these really quickly. The first one is love. What is love? Love is a feeling of intense caring, devotion, and positivity. Love is the highest vibration that you can achieve. That's that God phase. That's that phase of that's that mental state that changes your cellular structure the most. Okay. The next one is pleasure, a feeling of satisfaction and enjoyment. The next one is flow, a state of immersion in the moment. The next one is apathy, a state of detachment or disinterest. Then there's anxiety, a state of worry about the future. There's pain, an unpleasant mental state that can be described as suffering. And then there's hate, a painful state of hostility. So I believe in making things happen. In business, you are only as good as what you can make happen. Type that in the chat. In business, you are only as good as what you can make happen. You have to figure out as a business person, as an entrepreneur, how to make things happen. People cannot bring ideas to you, and you cannot be where ideas go to die. You don't want to be the idea cemetery. You want to be able to make things happen. You don't want your own ideas just constantly dying within you. In business, you are only as good as what you can make happen. All right. Let me remind you again of that process. When you have a goal, you have something you're trying to make happen, you think about how you will feel emotionally when you make it happen. And you think about that enough that you can call up that emotion on demand. You can change your emotional state on demand. And then you figure out, you back into it. You go, okay, what mental state do I need to be in to get this? Because I want that high. Okay. So, like I said, I like making things happen. In business, you are only good as what you can make happen. You can talk, but if you can't make it happen and you ain't making it happen, then I have to say you're only as good as what you can make happen. That's how I say it. And if you know me, you know that I try to live in a space of love, pleasure, and flow. Some people say I live in la la land. And I had a relative say, girl, you ain't gonna never find a man in that la la land you live in. And I said, well, I'll find someone who wants to come to la la land. So love, pleasure, and flow. That's my thing. Those are my productive states. Anxiety and pain are not unavoidable, though. They are what I call contrast or struggle that helps to alert me if I need to tweak my mental state or move in another direction. So we don't run from struggle. We don't run from contrast. That's actually our friend, because that's how we develop into what it is that we're chasing. See, we have that desire. That desire is the manifestation. Then we start to think about how will I feel emotionally when that desire comes to fruition? And then what mental state do I need to be in? When I start to struggle, when I start to get sluggish, when there's no progress, I go, okay, here's the contrast. Here's the struggle. What do I need to do? What do I need to improve? I have to go deep inside of myself, because that's where the basis of the development of myself and my community lies. And I use apathy when things are none of my business, or when someone is trying to be manipulative, or when there's a behavior that doesn't serve me. Now, each of these can be an entire lecture. We don't have time to go into it tonight, but I just wanted you to just run through those mental states so that you can think about them. Okay. And then number 17, the author says, what is the result? And his answer is, if the desire is in harmony with the forward movement of the great whole, forces will be set in motion, which will bring about the result. So beautiful. If your desire, if you want something, and your desire is in harmony with the forward movement or the motion or the momentum of the great whole or Allah, then the forces of the universe will be set in motion to help you bring that result about. Y'all don't hear me. You don't hear me. So remember, we talked about desire on the Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talks. Desire in and of itself is a manifestation. Okay. We just have to make sure that those desires are in harmony with the forward momentum of Allah. I'm going to talk about momentum a little bit, but desire is a manifestation, and a desire is just manifestation in an embryonic stage. So don't disrespect your desires. Don't kill them before they even begin to take form. You know how they tell you that in the first trimester of a pregnancy, you have to be ever so careful because you can miscarry, you can cause birth defects. The same is true with your desires. Don't dismiss your desires. You shouldn't really even overly share your desires. See, there are risks associated with the ongoing concern of your manifestation when you mishandle your desires. See, because you get a desire in, and sometimes we mislabel it or we misdirect it, and it falls out of harmony with the forward momentum of Allah. Or we get a desire in and we go, man, that ain't gonna never happen. We kill it before it even starts to form. Or we get a desire in and we do this. We get excited and then we get sad. We get excited and we get mad. We get excited and we start moving forward, and then we start keeping score. Let me look and see how big it's gotten. Let me look and see if it's grown. Well, every time you keep score, you become conscious of the fact that it's not fully developed yet. See, your idea is you want to take the unseen and make it become the seen. So you have to be very careful to respect your desires and see your desire as a manifestation. It's not just the money. It's not just the stuff. It's not just the business. Your desire is a manifestation. Now, in business, like we said, we are only as good as what we make happen. So that means that we need momentum or movement, right? Type that in the chat. We need momentum or movement to make things happen. So the great whole, WHOLE, that the author is referring to here is all or Allah. So if our desires or thoughts or what we want are in alignment with the momentum of Allah, then external forces or laws of nature will be set in motion to help bring about the desired results. So you have to learn how to create momentum in your mind. In simple terms, momentum is considered to be a quantity of motion. What does that mean? You have to have movement. You have to have motion. You got to have quantity. You got to have little movements. This quantity is measurable because if an object is moving and has mass, meaning it has weight to it, then it has momentum. Something that has a large mass has a large momentum. Or something that is moving very fast also has a large momentum. And guess what moves fast? Your mind moves very fast. Your thoughts move fast. Your thoughts travel how fast? The average rate of 24 billion miles per second. That's some serious momentum. So you get the momentum in your mind by having thoughts, and you accelerate those thoughts by removing doubt and partnering with the universal mind. The momentum is already there for you. That's a universal law. We talked last week that our thoughts travel faster than light, but we slow down or block the momentum with doubt, confusion, and ignorance. We have to let the momentum of our mind move at a divine rate. Now, how do we do that? This is where we set micro goals. This is where micro goals are important. You got to walk down that big goal with micro goals. You put strategies together to meet those micro goals, and you walk that thing down until you get to the goal. Let's say your goal is to eat a bean pie. Let's make it simple. Some of y'all love bean pie. You don't eat the whole thing at once. You eat it one bite at a time. One bite at a time. It's like winning a game, and you put together those plays, and you continue to walk down the court and walk down the field until you walk down that goal. You create micro goals. If you say, I want to sell 10 houses in the next 6 months, then you got to figure out how to break that down. First of all, you're going to do what? You're going to think about how you feel when you sell those 10 houses. You're going to think about how emotionally elated you're going to be, how on 10 you're going to be when you sell those 10 houses. That's what you want to think about first. And you want to feel that. So as you walking up there to show somebody that house, you got that feeling in your heart. You like, man, I'm selling 10 in these next 6 months. You walking that thing down. You say, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to make some phone calls. I'm going to be excited every time somebody calls and needs help. I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to make sure that I filter my clients so nobody's wasting my time. All of my little micro goals, I'm going to approach them with the enthusiasm as if I've already sold the 10 houses. I'm going to walk that thing down, play by play by play by play. Hope y'all get that. Number 18, what is the result of the operation of this law? That's what the author says. The answer is our environment reflects conditions corresponding to the predominant mental attitude we entertain. And I think we've talked about that enough. I'll sum it up with the quote from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thought is the power that changes physical reality. Type that in the chat. Thought is the power that changes physical reality. Thought. So you got to guard your thoughts. You got to have the right thoughts. You got to put the right emotions with the thought so that you create momentum. And each of your micro goals are like plays that are getting you to the end, to the end zone or to the basket or whatever sport you're talking about. In this case, to our business goals. Thought is the power that changes physical reality. You cannot sit up at home thinking, man, I ain't gonna sell these houses. Nobody want to buy no house from me because I'm black. Nobody want to buy no house from me because I'm fat. Nobody want to buy no house from me because I don't even have a house. You cannot think like that. You got to be putting in your heart and mind how good you're going to feel when you sell those 10 houses. And that's got to be your motivation. You got to chase that emotion. Every time you start your car up to go show somebody a house, you got to be feeling good. You got to be smiling. You got to be looking good. You got to be looking like you done already sold those 10 houses. Number 19, the author says, what name has been given to this law? And the answer is the law of attraction. And number 20, he asks, how is the law stated? And his answer is, thought is a creative energy and will automatically correlate with this object and bring it into manifestation. Hope y'all got something out of this. So next week, I would like for you to read part 3. I'll work on posting an audio reading of this one also for those of you who prefer the audio version. So stay close to social media. At MOEToday Universe on Instagram, at The Authentic You on Twitter, and at Sajdah Wendy Muhammad on Facebook. And I'll create a post in a few minutes where you can post your comments and questions. I'll post it on IG, Twitter, and to Facebook. If you got anything out of today, don't chip and dip me. Please give back. I don't charge what my colleagues are charging. I tell y'all that every time I come out here, they give me a hard time. They talk about me. One of them called me today and was talking to me about booking me for an event, and they started teasing me about my free events. I was like, whatever, I'm helping my people. But I believe that we deserve access to mental strategies, and many of us have not yet mastered thought in a way that we can afford to pay the $5,000 for group classes or $50,000 for one-on-one sessions. So make a comment on social media about the class. Thank you, Sister Yavanka, last week. I love the post that you created. That was amazing. Bring a friend next time. Tell them to come on here and take a look at it. Purchase my book, The Mind of an Entrepreneur, on Amazon. It's available on Kindle and in paperback in both English and French. And you can make a donation via Cash App at $MOEToday. Just do something so we can keep going. And of course, your prayers. Just keep praying. Keep praying for me. Keep praying for your girl. If you are in this course and you want some one-on-one coaching, there's a link in the bio on my social media pages where you can sign up for one-on-one coaching. Okay. They're $150 a session. You can book right there, pay right there. There's limited slots available because of my schedule. So you got to move quickly. Once they fill up, you'll have to wait a few weeks. So with that, I wish you all more love and goodness than you've ever received or imagined. Put it in the chat if you enjoyed this, if you got something out of this today. I pray that you're blessed beyond measure. And most importantly, I pray that you experience peace no matter what is happening around you. Don't forget your homework for tonight that is outlined at the end of the chapter. Let me get it. Let me read it. Okay, here's the homework. This is from the author. He said, last week, I gave you an exercise for the purpose of securing control of the physical body. If you have accomplished this, you are ready to advance. This time, you will begin to control your thought. Always take the same room, the same chair, and the same position if possible. In some cases, it is not convenient to take the same room. In this case, simply make the best use of such conditions as may be available. Now be perfectly still as before, but inhibit all thought. This will give you control over all thoughts of care, worry, and fear, and will enable you to entertain only the kind of thoughts you desire. Continue this exercise until you gain complete mastery. You will not be able to do this for more than a few minutes at a time. So what he wants you to do is sit in a chair and just try not to think. And he's saying you won't be able to do this for more than a few minutes at a time, but the exercise is valuable because it will be a very practical demonstration of the great number of thoughts which are constantly trying to gain access to your mental world. And you'll find that as soon as you sit down, you start thinking of all kinds of things, commercials and everything. It's funny how your mind just so easily gets programmed. My brother and I used to play this game when we were little, where we would come home at the end of school day and say, what song was in your mind all day? And more than likely it would be a song that one of us heard or we both heard in the morning on the way to school. So be careful with your programming. Next week, he says you'll receive instructions for an exercise which may be more interesting, but it's necessary for you to master this one first. And what I'll do is I'll post so that you can ask questions through the week. And remember, our quote for today's class is from the Bible, Philippians 2:5. Let this mind be in you that is also in Christ Jesus. See you all Saturday, inshallah, for the Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talk, where we talk about life, love, and business. Let me know here in the chat how you enjoyed class tonight, and bring a friend, tell somebody about it, and this will be posted so that you can come back and listen to it. So thank you, all of you who are here, and I'll see you all next time. Peace and blessings. All right. Y'all want me to go out with my little music? I don't know if I can find it again. Oh, yeah, here it is. All right. Yep, fist bump, Kevin. Class was insightful. Thank you. Beautiful class. Amazing class. Peace to everyone. Look, we're going to be powerful manifestors and entrepreneurs in this circle of influence that we're building. We're going to do for self, inshallah, and we're going to be good at it. So what we're doing is we're unraveling all of this programming that has been placed into our brain, and we're just putting new stuff in there and letting Allah come into our lives. Praise be to Allah. All right. Assalamu alaikum, family. I'm going to end now. I feel like I'm hanging up on y'all. That's why I keep hesitating, because y'all still writing in the chat. Love you. Wish you more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. Sending everyone amazing energy for a productive week. And I'll see you all, inshallah, next time.